Signals in the void. The Helix Array hung in the darkness between Mars and Jupiter. A sprawling network of dishes, antennas, and quantum receivers pointed toward the endless void. Humanity's most advanced listening post was designed to do one thing: hear the whispers of the universe. For 70 years, it had faithfully recorded cosmic background radiation, pulsar beats, and the occasional unexplained signal. But nothing conclusive, nothing certain. Until now. Dr. Eliza Chen hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the data scrolling across her screen. The signal had first appeared as a faint anomaly, easily dismissed as background noise. But something about its pattern had caught her attention. A rhythm too regular, too precise to be natural. "It's still there," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the soft hum of computers. Third confirmation. Commander Wei looked over her shoulder, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of monitors. "Show me the pattern analysis again." Eliza's fingers flew across the console, pulling up a three-dimensional visualization. The signal pulsed in mathematical sequences, repeating with slight variations that couldn't be coincidental. "It's artificial," Wei said, no question in his voice. After decades in deep space communication, he knew what he was seeing. Where's it coming from? The Epsilon Eridani sector. But that's the strange part. It's coming from the dead zone. The dead zone, a region of space where several exploratory probes had gone silent over the years. Interest in the sector had waned after multiple failed missions, and United Earth Command had eventually declared it a navigational hazard. Wei's communicator chimed. "Admiral Okafor is calling an emergency council meeting. They want you there, Dr. Chen." Eliza nodded, her mind still processing the implications. After generations of searching the stars for signs of intelligence, something had found them first. The United Earth Command headquarters in Geneva buzzed with unusual activity. Eliza's presentation to the 12-person council was brief and direct. An artificial signal of unknown origin, broadcasting consistently for at least the past 2 weeks, possibly longer. "And you're certain it's a distress call?" Admiral Okafor asked, her dark eyes intense beneath silver-streaked hair. "The pattern follows universal mathematical principles that would indicate distress," Eliza explained. 3 bursts, pause, 5 bursts, pause, then a complex sequence that repeats. In virtually every communication system we theorized for first contact, this would be recognized as a call for help. The room fell silent. Humanity had prepared for this moment for generations, establishing protocols, training specialists, building ships designed for first contact. But preparation was different from reality. "We have to respond," General Martinez said finally. "Not just respond. We have to go." Several council members shifted uncomfortably. "The dead zone has claimed 7 unmanned probes," Defense Minister Quan countered. "Whatever's out there, it's hostile to our technology. Or desperate enough to disable it to get our attention," Eliza suggested. The room turned to her, and she swallowed hard before continuing. "If a technologically advanced civilization is in distress, ignoring them would be unconscionable and potentially dangerous." Admiral Okafor nodded slowly. "The Prometheus is ready for her maiden voyage. If we're going to make first contact, we should send our best." The vote was unanimous. The UES Prometheus gleamed against the blackness of space, its crystalline fusion engines pulsing with contained stars. Earth's first true deep space exploration vessel had been built for exactly this mission, though no one had expected it would come so soon. Eliza stared through the viewport as the shuttle carried her toward the massive ship. Despite her expertise in xenolinguistics and communication theory, she had never expected to leave Earth. Now she would be the voice of humanity, billions of kilometers from home. Captain Diana Reed met her at the docking bay, a tall woman with keen eyes and the focused demeanor of someone accustomed to commanding respect. "Dr. Chen, welcome aboard." Her handshake was firm. "I understand you're the one who found our signal." "It found us, Captain. I just happened to be listening." Reed guided her through the ship's gleaming corridors. The Prometheus can sustain 70 crew members for up to 3 years without resupply. We've assembled the best minds Earth has to offer. Xenobiologists, physicists, diplomats, security specialists, and now, our communications expert. Eliza absorbed the details as they walked. The ship's adaptive AI system, its revolutionary defense capabilities, the modular design that could be reconfigured for various mission parameters. But her mind kept returning to the signal, pulsing insistently across the void. "How long until we reach the coordinates?" she asked. "The new quantum fold drive will get us there in 11 days. Conventional engines would take decades." Reed's voice carried a hint of pride. "We've waited a long time for this technology. Seems the universe had its own schedule in mind." At the bridge, Eliza was introduced to the command crew. Navigation Officer Imani Davis, Security Chief Sergei Volkov, Science Director Dr. Julian Reyes, and Chief Engineer Hiroshi Tanaka. Each regarded her with the same mix of curiosity and apprehension she herself felt. "We're making history," Reed told them all. "The first humans to deliberately seek contact with an alien intelligence. Whatever we find out there, we face it together." As the Prometheus detached from Earth's orbital dock and engaged its engines, Eliza felt a shiver of anticipation. Something was waiting for them across the stars, something that needed help. 9 days into their journey, Eliza jolted awake to flashing red emergency lights. She stumbled from her quarters into chaotic corridors as crew members rushed to their stations. "What's happening?" she asked a passing engineer. "Navigational anomaly," the woman replied without stopping. "We're being pulled off course." On the bridge, Captain Reed was bent over the navigation console with Officer Davis. "It's like nothing we've seen before," Davis was saying. "A localized distortion in space-time. The computer can't categorize it." Reed looked up as Eliza entered. "Dr. Chen, the signal has changed." Eliza rushed to the communication station. The regular pulses had transformed into a complex, layered pattern, almost like language. "It's adapting," she breathed. "It knows we're coming." Before anyone could respond, the ship lurched violently. The lights flickered, and for a moment, even the artificial gravity wavered. "All stop," Reed commanded. "Full diagnostic." The view screen showed only empty space, but sensors detected an enormous mass directly ahead. "Visual confirmation negative," Officer Davis reported, confusion in her voice. "But something's there. Something massive." Dr. Rice adjusted the sensor array, switching to full spectrum analysis. The view screen shimmered, and suddenly they weren't looking at empty space anymore. A structure materialized before them, vast beyond comprehension. A lattice of metallic arches and crystalline nodes stretching across thousands of kilometers. It seemed to fold into dimensions that human eyes couldn't quite process, parts of it appearing and disappearing as though only partially existing in their reality. "My God," someone whispered. Eliza stared, transfixed. The structure pulsed with faint blue energy that matched the rhythm of the signal exactly. This was the source, not a ship, but something far more advanced, an artifact of a civilization that operated on a scale humanity had barely imagined. "We're receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced. I can't describe it. Not audio or video. It's interfacing directly with our systems." Screens throughout the bridge flickered to life, displaying complex symbols that shifted and changed. Eliza moved closer, her trained eye recognizing patterns within the chaos. "It's a language," she said, excitement overriding her fear. "A visual language, but utilizing four-dimensional concepts." She pointed to recurring symbols. "These appear to be markers for time, space, entity, and something else. Something I don't have a reference for." The ship's AI began processing the incoming data, cross-referencing it with every known linguistic structure. Slowly, primitively, translation began. "Suarvivors. Defenders. Hope." The words appeared on the main screen, simplistic approximations of infinitely more complex concepts. They're addressing us, Eliza said, heart racing. They recognize us as intelligent beings. We are endying. The DVOR Commons. Captain Reed straightened her uniform. Open a channel. Let's respond. Eliza worked with the ship's AI to construct a reply using the alien syntax. It was crude, limited by human understanding, but it conveyed their essential message. We received your call. We are here to help. Who are you? The response came almost immediately, a flood of information that the AI struggled to process. Images, concepts, mathematical theorems, the history of an ancient civilization compressed into packets of data. The ship's systems strained under the load, but gradually a narrative emerged. They called themselves the Astrians, a species that had achieved interstellar travel millions of years before humans had even evolved. They had built the megastructure, called the Nexus, as a hub connecting thousands of worlds across the galaxy. For eons, they had explored, built, and thrived. Until they encountered the Devourer. The images that followed defied complete understanding. A cosmic entity that fed not on matter or energy, but on consciousness itself. It consumed minds, civilizations, entire species worth of thought and culture. The Astrians had fought it for millennia, losing world after world, until only a small group remained, preserved as energy patterns within the Nexus. They're not physically here, Dr. Rice realized, scanning the incoming data. These are digital consciousnesses, uploaded minds. Their bodies are long gone. The final transmission was clear, even in translation. We sent the KL to many. You alone came. The others feared. They hide. You faced the unknown. This is why you may succeed where we failed. The DVO warrior worry two arns. It hungers. You must prepare. As the message ended, the ship's sensors detected a disturbance at the edge of the system, a darkness that seemed to bend light around it, approaching with impossible speed. Multiple contacts. Security Chief Volkov announced. Voice tense. Configuration unknown. They're surrounding the Nexus. And us. The Astrian signal pulsed once more, urgent. It begins again. You must stand against the darkness, or all worlds will fall. Humanity must be suomi. We could note the shield of Qon and Sio uses and es. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. They had answered a distress call only to find themselves drawn into an ancient war. A war against something that had already defeated a civilization far more advanced than their own. Captain Reed's voice was steady when she finally spoke. Alert Earth. Tell them we've made contact, and we need reinforcements. She surveyed her crew, determination in her eyes. The Astrians waited millions of years for someone to answer their call. Humanity answered. Now we proved that wasn't a mistake. As the darkness approached, Eliza found herself thinking of Earth, blue and distant, unaware that its first interstellar mission had just placed it at the center of a conflict that would determine the fate of all thinking beings in the galaxy. Humanity had answered the call. Now the stars would tremble with what came next. Humanity answers. Shields at maximum. Captain Reed ordered as the darkness approached. The Prometheus hummed as its defensive systems engaged, creating layers of energy barriers around the ship. Eliza worked frantically at the communications console, trying to maintain contact with the Astrian consciousness while the ship's AI processed more of the transmitted data. The information was overwhelming. Millions of years of history, technology beyond human comprehension, and warnings about an enemy that defied conventional understanding. Captain, I'm extracting tactical data, she called out. The Devourer isn't a single entity. It's a collective consciousness that operates through drone vessels. The dark shapes approaching us. Science Director Rice confirmed her analysis. The sensors show them as void spaces, regions where normal physics breaks down. They don't reflect light. They absorb it completely. Can we communicate with them? Reed asked. The Astrians try for centuries. Eliza replied, scanning the incoming data. The devourer doesn't negotiate or compromise. It only consumes. The first impact came without warning. A wave of energy washed over the ship, not attacking its physical structure but targeting its systems. Screens flickered, gravity wavered, and several crew members clutched their heads in sudden pain. It's a psychic attack, Dr. Reyes gasped, fighting to maintain focus. They're targeting our minds through the ship's neural interfaces. Chief Engineer Tanaka's fingers flew across his console, disengaging neural network, switching to manual controls. The pressure eased, but the attack had revealed a terrifying truth. The enemy could reach into human consciousness through technology. The ship's advanced systems, designed to enhance human capability, had become a vulnerability. We need to understand what we're fighting, Reed said. Dr. Chen, what else can you tell us about this entity? Eliza pulled up the Astrian records. The devourer emerged from a region of space the Astrians had been exploring, a place where the fabric of reality was thin. They believe it's not from our universe at all, but something that exists beyond normal space-time. It feeds on consciousness itself. The more advanced and complex, the more satisfying. So it targets the most intelligent species it can find, Volkov concluded grimly. Yes, and the Astrians were perfect prey, billions of minds linked in a vast network through the Nexus. Eliza's voice faltered. It consumed most of their civilization before they understood what was happening. Outside the viewports, the darkness had completely surrounded the Nexus. The ancient structure's blue energy pulses became erratic, weakening as the assault intensified. They're dying, Eliza whispered. The last of the Astrians. Captain Reed's jaw tightened. Not if we can help it. Mr. Tanaka, what weapons do we have that don't rely on AI targeting? Railguns and conventional missiles. Everything else is integrated with the neural network. Then we use what we have. Target the nearest void and fire. The Prometheus shuddered as its railguns launched hypervelocity projectiles toward the darkness. The effect was immediate and unexpected. Where the projectiles should have impacted, they simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no resistance, just nothing. Physical weapons are ineffective, Volkov reported. It's as if the projectiles are being removed from existence. A new message flashed across Eliza's screen. Directit, Q and Philikit impossible. Devourer exist. Sus partieli outside normal space. Requires indi reciti ap preroage. They're trying to help us, Eliza said. But what does indirect approach mean? Before anyone could theorize, the ship trembled again. This time, the attack penetrated deeper. Crew members throughout the ship reported hallucinations, disorientation, overwhelming fear. It's in our minds, Officer Davis gasped, gripping her console. I can feel it. Searching. Eliza felt it too, a cold alien presence sifting through her thoughts, examining her memories with clinical detachment. It wasn't malicious so much as hungrily curious, like a child dissecting an insect to see how it worked. Then, unexpectedly, she felt something else. Surprise. The entity hadn't expected human minds to be so chaotic, so full of contradictions and illogical connections, so vibrant with emotions that didn't follow rational patterns. That's when understanding dawned on her. It doesn't understand us, she said suddenly. The Astrians were logical, ordered. Their thoughts followed predictable patterns, patterns the devourer learned to exploit. But humans. She looked around at her crewmates. We're different. Messy. Unpredictable. Dr. Rice caught her meaning immediately. A defense based on chaos theory. Mental unpredictability as a weapon. Not just unpredictability. Creativity. Eliza turned to the captain. I need to speak to all crew members. Now. Reed nodded, activating the ship-wide communication system. This is Dr. Chen. I need everyone to listen carefully. The entity attacking us feeds on structured thought, logical, linear thinking. I need you all to embrace chaos. Think of poetry, music, nonsensical jokes. Remember dreams, create impossible scenarios. Be human in the most messy, emotional, creative way possible. Your minds are your weapons now. Throughout the ship, the crew responded. Engineers recited childhood rhymes while maintaining systems. Security personnel sang while manning their posts. Scientists calculated prime numbers backward while contemplating impossible colors. On the bridge, Eliza closed her eyes and filled her mind with the most human thoughts she could muster. Her grandmother's laughter, the taste of rain, the impossible yearning she felt when looking at stars as a child. She thought of human history, messy, violent, beautiful, kind, all the contradictions that made her species what it was. The presence in her mind recoiled, confused by the riot of sensations and emotions it couldn't categorize. Around the ship, others reported the same effect. The invasive pressure withdrawing, unable to process the cacophony of human consciousness. It's working, Reed said in wonder. But we can't maintain this indefinitely. Eliza returned to the Astrian data. There must be something else here, some way to actually fight back. As she searched, a new pattern emerged in the ancient records, references to a theoretical weapon the Astrians had conceived but never completed, something they called the reflection engine. They designed a device that would reflect consciousness back at the devourer, she explained, forcing it to consume itself. But they never built it. The math was theoretical, and they ran out of time. Chief Engineer Tanaka leaned over her shoulder, examining the equations. This is quantum entanglement on a scale I'd never seen before. But the principles, his eyes widened. The principles are similar to our quantum fold drive. We could adapt it. How long? Reed asked. Hours, maybe, if we survive that long. Outside, the darkness pressed closer. The Nexus's light dimmed further, its ancient defenses failing. We need to buy time, Reed said. Dr. Chen, can you communicate with the Astrians? Tell them to hold on. Eliza sent the message, explaining their plan. The response was immediate. We will sustain, but QSHLI. Few of us remain. Mr. Tanaka, take whatever personnel you need. Make this happen. As Tanaka rushed off, Reed turned to the rest of the bridge crew. Keep thinking those chaotic thoughts, people. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our unpredictability. Let's use it. Hours passed in a strange battle of wills. The devourer probed and retreated, confused by the human resistance. It had never encountered minds that could shift so quickly between logic and emotion, between structure and chaos. Each time it adapted to one pattern of thought, the humans would shift to another. In engineering, Tanaka and his team worked frantically to modify the quantum fold drive. They stripped components from non-essential systems, reconfigured power couplings, and reprogrammed the quantum matrix. Captain, Tanaka's voice came over the comm. We've got something. It's crude, but the principles are sound. What do you need? We need to get close to the center of the devourer's consciousness, the focal point where its presence is strongest. Reed looked at the tactical display. The darkness had patterns within its seemingly random movement, a swirling motion around a central void deeper and more absolute than the rest. There, she pointed. That's where we need to go. Officer Davis shook her head. The navigation system can't plot a course through those distortions. Then we fly manually. Reed took the controls herself. Old school. The Prometheus surged forward, diving into the heart of darkness. The ship groaned under forces that seemed to pull at its very atoms. On the bridge, reality itself seemed to waver, with crew members seeing glimpses of other places, other times, as they penetrated deeper into the devourer's domain. Engineering reports ready. Communications announced. Reed nodded grimly. Activate the reflection engine. The modified drive engaged with a pulse that shook the ship to its foundation. A beam of coherent energy, not light, but something more fundamental, shot from the Prometheus toward the heart of darkness. Where it struck, space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a mirror effect that reflected the void back into itself. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. For the devourer, the darkness writhed, its perfect absorption disrupted by having its own consciousness reflected back at it. It was forced to consume itself, trapped in a loop of self-destruction. A keening sound filled the ship, not heard with ears, but felt in the mind. The death cry of something ancient and terrible facing its own nature for the first time. The void vessels surrounding the Nexus began to dissolve, their perfect darkness fragmenting into gray motes that scattered like ash. The pressure on the crew's minds lifted suddenly, leaving behind a silence that felt almost deafening after the mental assault. "It's retreating," Volkov reported, disbelief in his voice, all contacts disappearing from sensors. On Eliza's console, a message from the Astrians. UAAVDUNE what HFY. We could note the DVOUR affairs what it can note UUNDERSTND and HTANNOT humanity. The Nexus pulsed brighter, its energy patterns stabilizing as the attack ended. The surviving Astrian consciousnesses gathered strength, their ancient systems revitalizing. "We've driven it back," Reed said, "but have we destroyed it?" "Not destroyed," Eliza replied, reading the Astrian data. "The reflection engine damaged it severely, but something that exists partly outside our reality can't be completely eliminated by our weapons. It's retreating to heal, to reconsider. Then we need to be ready when it returns," Reed said firmly. "And we need to warn Earth." The Astrian message continued. "For millions of years, we say ARCHD for allies against the darkness. Many species, heard our tale. Only humanity answered. Only humanity had the courage and HECKHAOs to stand against a DVO. We OFFERUTHENEXUS. With it, you may connect your worlds and prepare for the DVO's return. UAAVEARNED your place among the stars." Captain Reed looked at her crew, exhausted, shaken, but alive with the knowledge of what they had accomplished. "Send a message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them humanity is no longer alone in the universe. Tell them we've made both allies and enemies among the stars." She paused, staring at the ancient structure that now hummed with renewed energy. "And tell them we have work to do." 6 months later, a fleet of Earth ships arrived at the Nexus. They brought scientists, engineers, diplomats, humanity's best, coming to learn from the Astrians and prepare for the future. The ancient consciousnesses shared their knowledge freely, teaching humans to operate the Nexus and access the vast network of wormholes it controlled. For the first time in human history, the entire galaxy was within reach. Eliza stood on an observation platform, watching as the first colony ships prepared to depart for distant stars. Captain Reed, now Admiral Reed, joined her, gazing out at the activities surrounding the Nexus. "The Devourer will return," Eliza said quietly. "The Astrians are certain of it." Reed nodded. "But we'll be ready. We're establishing outposts at every wormhole exit, building early warning systems based on the reflection engine technology. And more importantly," she gestured to where human and Astrian representatives were working together, "we're not alone anymore." "They waited so long for someone to answer their call," Eliza mused. "So many civilizations heard them and turned away in fear." "Fear is powerful," Reed acknowledged. "But curiosity is stronger, at least for humans." A message appeared on Eliza's datapad, the Astrian Council requesting her presence. As humanity's primary interpreter of their language, she had become a crucial link between the species. "They've been studying our history," she told Reed. They find it fascinating how often we faced extinction and survived, how we fought against overwhelming odds and prevailed. What do they think makes us different? Eliza smiled. They say it's our contradictions. We're logical enough to build starships, but emotional enough to name them after myths. We're peaceful enough to seek out new life, but fierce enough to defend it when threatened. We're individuals who think for ourselves, but can act as one when needed. She looked back at the stars, no longer distant and unreachable, but a frontier opening before them. The Astrians believe the universe has been waiting for us, a species with the perfect balance of order and chaos, reason and intuition. They think humanity is the shield the galaxy has needed all along. Admiral Reed laughed softly. No pressure, then. Together they watched as the first wave of exploration vessels activated their quantum drives, vanishing into the depths of space. Humanity was spreading outward, carrying with them the message they had learned when they answered a desperate call from the stars. In a universe of infinite darkness, those who stand against it matter. Those who answer when others are silent make all the difference. And sometimes, the thunder of humanity's arrival is exactly what the galaxy needs to hear.